Okay, for this, our main event of the evening, we introduce the champion, Chris, the West Side Strangler Brennan. Let's get it on!
All right, guys, we're going to talk about the UFC that just happened this last weekend. UFC 2, what was it? Any idea?
I didn't even look.
270 something? And then the Glover Teixeira fight. And then we're going to talk about the upcoming Bellator that takes place on June 24th.
That's 282.
282.
I did look that one up.
Awesome.
All right, so
got a couple fights in the UFC I want to talk about.
Yeah. First one you want to talk about is Joanna Weili.
So the first time they fought was amazing. It was a barn burner. Joanna had an egg on the side of her head, a hematoma, giant. She looked like the guy in Goonies. Hey, you guys. That's what she looked like. But anyway, so she finally got a rematch. And she hasn't fought in quite a while. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been quite a while, going on 2 years, I think. And Weili had been fighting. She'd fought tough girls. And I just thought it was going to be a bad matchup this time anyway. And she lost. She got knocked out bad with a spinning back fist, face planted. And then they did and I hate that Daniel Cormier does it because Joe Rogan hated interviewing Daniel Cormier after he got knocked out by John Jones.
Okay.
So I hate that they interview the person who lost that night. And I don't want to say the loser because no one there's a loser, but she lost. And in doing while they're interviewing Weili, I'm watching Joanna take her gloves off. And I'm like, man, don't retire. I'm not even a fan. I'm not a fan of hers.
Okay.
She kind of was like really big on herself when she was the champ.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't kind of rubbing the wrong way. But too many people make the retirement decision while waking up. And unless that was her plan before the fight happened, I just think it was a bad, someone should have said, hey, wait. Because if she won the fight, she would have got a title shot. And damn well she was going to fight for the title.
For sure.
So the problem is, and people don't get this, and this is going to take me to the main event for the co-main event fight as well when we get there. But the judges, don't understand how big of a setback it is when you get it wrong.
Yeah.
How big of a setback a loss is. So what Joanna looked at when that fight was over was there are people that can fight in the UFC forever, and they're never going to be close to fighting for the belt.
Okay.
They're never going to be in the top 10.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then there are champions.
Yeah.
There are people who are fighting to be a champion, and they're just champions. And Joanna's a champion.
Okay.
And she now is going to have to go back and fight 2 or 3 times and win those, go through 2 or 3 camps.
Yep.
2 or 3 hard fights to get
talking
back to the same thing again. A couple of years.
18 to 24 months.
Right. And that's a long process.
Yeah.
And at 35, she's now going to be like, 37?
Yep.
And she's instantly started thinking about, she's got to go through that process to get back to that spot. Unless it's like an instant rematch, which could have happened right after the first time they fought because it was, a barn burner. But this time was decisively ended with a knockout. And so making that decision afterwards, it sucks, when people do it coming off of a loss because they're down and depressed, and she might go home and think differently and be like, all of a sudden she's fired up and wants it. But the problem is she is a champion, and she wants to be fighting for the championship, and that just set her back 2 to 3 fights of not being a champion.
Yeah.
And there are the people who those top 5 people, top 6, 7 people are constantly in the hunt for the belt. There are other people, I believe there are other people that know they're never going to fight for the belt, but they're fighting in the UFC.
Sure.
And that's, that's enough for them, and they keep trying and trying and trying, but they'll keep trying forever. There's guys at the motocross races who sometimes they make the night show, sometimes they don't, but every single weekend they're wherever it is in the United States to race because they just love racing and they just want to race, and they're hoping for that one, that one chance, and that's how a lot of people are that are fighting in the UFC and Bellator and anywhere else. But to that, I just, it's a bummer that she's going to retire. She's a great fighter and whatnot, but I just feel like that's why, and She's not a number 5. She's wanting to be fighting for the belt.
The spinning back fist, I saw some statistics on that. Super rare way to finish a fight. I think it was the first woman to finish the fight.
Probably.
You hate to call, I don't want to say luck, because Weili's a talented fighter, and I think she knew exactly what she was doing. But how much do you want to go back to Joanna and say, look, you got caught by a 1 in 100 punch? Like, let's not do this yet.
She was losing already.
She was
kind of getting
10-9.
manhandled. When they were clinching.
Yeah.
Weiling's wrestling was like legit. Looked really good. Apparently, she'd been working with Henry Cejudo a little bit.
Okay.
And Olympic gold medalist,
Yep.
And flyweight champion. I don't know. Again, the fight. I don't think the fight goes differently if there was, whatever. And spinning back fist, man. Shoni Carter knocked out Matt Serra with one. Sergio Pettis knocked out Horiguchi with one after losing 4 rounds. He'd lost the entire fight and then knocked him out with it.
Yeah, and that was with 5 seconds left in the fight or something.
Very short.
Really close
very
to the
short
end of the
time.
fight.
They land a lot. People land the elbows, land the punches, but to get the fight finish out of it,
That's
I don't know that it's luck. I mean, everything is a little bit of timing, a little bit of luck, a little bit of what that guy, how he reacts to what you're throwing, But your setups are created. Joanna actually said she was getting ready to throw one and got caught with one.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It was tough to see her go down like that. I do think Weili's, she's one of those people that I think is always going to be in those top 5.
Absolutely,
it's just going to be
absolutely.
right there.
She's going to be fighting for the belt now.
Yeah.
Unless Rose gets a rematch with Carla, but I don't think anyone wants to see that right now. So
not after what happened last time.
I mean,
that's a bad brand right now.
That's 5 rounds of melatonin.
When it was late, I was literally trying to stay awake.
Me too. We were staying awake for. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen?
Right.
Are they going to turn it up all of a sudden?
Yep.
Is something crazy going to happen? And it never happened.
I watched it with my 11-year-old daughter, and she literally was like, I looked over and she's literally got the heavy eyelid and she's doing this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I guess that tells you what kind of fight this is. So, well, moving on to Shevchenko and Santos. You've talked a lot. We've texted a little bit about scoring, and I know you mentioned it a little bit here, but I think you wanted to spend some more time on that.
Yeah, the only thing I want to talk about in this fight, besides the fact that Valentina. So Valentina's my favorite female fighter. Okay. 100% want her to win that fight.
Okay.
She 100% did not win that fight, and one judge was doing drugs in the back because he gave 4 rounds to Valentina.
Clemens Werner.
So I was watching the Josh Thompson, John McCarthy's podcast.
Yeah.
And they talked about it. And Josh thought Valentina won. John thought that it could have gone either way. I'm sorry. Josh thought Santos won, and John thought that it could have gone either way and could see Valentina winning. Everyone was questioning the second round. Okay, going into the third round, I didn't have a round, or going into the fourth round, I didn't have a round that I questioned. I thought the first 2 rounds were clear. I mean, she kept getting her back. She was dominating position. I think that there was no way that she won the fight. I think the headbutt saved her and kept the fight competitive to the end. She won the last 2 rounds because of that.
Yep.
I think she put it on, and that girl was seeing out of one eye at that point, and was struggling. But I just don't think that she won that fight. And Derek Lewis tweeted after the fight ended, before the judges came back, and said, this is going to be controversial, before it even came back. And sure enough, it was honestly, the Santos didn't look as bummed as she should have looked at the decision. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, what? Are you kidding me? And as they read the one,
the 49-46,
I was like, and then they said for her, I was
like,
what?
Yeah.
And I thought it was so clear. I was thinking at that point when they said 49-46, before they said Shevchenko, I was thinking, oh, maybe they gave that second round or the whatever round that I thought Valentina won. Or the first one I thought she started winning. I think it was 4.
Yeah.
Maybe they gave her that round, and I was like, and then they said her, and I was like, wait a second, there's no way she won 4 rounds. So, it is what it is. But what does that do to Santos now? This girl that fought her way, got to the belt. Valentina's never had a fight like that. Besides moving up and fighting Amanda.
Yep.
She's never had anyone in that weight class. What are they? Flyweights?
It's 125.
Yeah, featherweight, flyweights. She's never had anyone in that weight class give her a fight. Especially a fight like that. And does Dana homer her and say, next, and Santos, you have a couple more to go to get back here? Or is he going to be real and say, that's an instant rematch? That fight needs to happen again because it was that close. And do they want Valentina to move along, And will she even accept an instant rematch,
Yeah.
Because she knows whether she feels like she won or not, she knows that she was in the fight of her life and her belt was on the line for it,
Yeah.
So
And I'm assuming she's feeling that she got controlled. I mean, you've got to be feeling that.
She had to. I mean,
when when
someone's
all over you.
You're trying to take someone down and they reverse it and take you down.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
I'm a young enough white belt to have been there enough. It sucks when someone's owning you, and you know that.
Yeah, that's what I love about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, you can do a boxing class, you can do a kickboxing class, and get through the class without losing, without really getting beat up.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You can.
Sure.
You're doing things. In a jiu-jitsu class, you roll every day. You know who the winner is after every round.
Everyone.
You might not be thinking it, but you know.
Yeah.
Like, if you think, it's there's always a winner or loser. That's why it's so hard to get people committed to it, because you start out a loser every day. You're going to lose every day for a while, and that's just the way it is. And if you can get through that, it builds character. It's going to make you tougher. It's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you mentally, more able to grow from it. And so, I just, I don't know. I had a hard time, that decision. Yeah. Going back to the decision.
So it's in, all 3 judges scored rounds 4 and 5, 10-9 Shevchenko. All 3 judges scored round 3, 10-9 for Santos. It really came down to rounds 1 and 2. That's where
Did someone give Shevchenko round 1?
Yes. Yep, that's the 49-46. That's where
I thought it was round 2. Round 1.
Round 1, round 2, round 4, and round 5 gives you your 49-46.
Yeah, so here we are again, where there has to be some sort of real scoring system, not some freaking dude's opinion.
Yep.
Who doesn't know how to watch a fight.
Yep.
How first of all, how does one guy watch it and see it one way, 3 rounds clear, and the other one see it 4 rounds
the other way?
Like, why are you guys not watching for the same thing? There's got to at least be, if they don't want to give points for something, there at least has to be a structure for, if this happens, this person's winning the fight. If this person's getting the takedowns and getting their back, they're winning the fight at that point. If you have 2 full rounds, I think she had like 10 minutes or more of control time, maybe more. It just, she won 2 rounds. She lost 3 rounds. Clear cut, in my eyes. I'll go back and watch it again, but I wanted her to win the fight. I was watching it for her to win the fight, and I thought she lost. I thought she was losing the fight the whole time I was watching. I was like, man, she's losing. She's going to have to finish her. When the 5th round started, I was like, she's got to finish her. She's got to finish her. And
at that point, you felt like even if she had won the 5th round, she was behind so much that it wouldn't have gone
right.
away.
I thought she was going to lose 3-2.
Yeah.
I thought if she didn't finish her, she was going to lose 3-2. Oh well, judging. Got to get some sort of scoring system or some sort of meetings with the judges where these things matter more than these things don't matter. Like,
is there training?
Yeah, John McCarthy was, I don't know if he still runs it, but he was running because he was the original ref.
Right.
And was the best ref forever. And he ran the referee. They have to do a class or go through a thing that's, I think, certified through him, I think, or it used to be. But
to be a judge.
Mm-hmm. His kid's a judge.
Okay.
Yeah, his kid's one of the judges.
Oh,
His
that makes
kid's
sense.
actually, I forget what fight it was, but his kid was a judge on one of the fights that I was just like, what? It was a crazy one.
Well, moving on to Teixeira and Prohaska.
So the only reason I want to talk about that fight
Yeah.
is because I wanted Teixeira to win. People were giving him the excuse of him being tired when I said his fight IQ was garbage. His fight IQ was garbage. He gave up so many dominant positions that my 21-year-old kid would never give up. He wouldn't move him away from the fence. He got rolled from the fence 3 times because he let him get his legs to the fence and bridge him over. And you can watch Luke's fights and listen to Josh and John talk about how well he listens and how smart he is to already know to move him away from the fence.
Yep.
Well, you're 42 years old, bro. You know if that guy gets his feet next to the fence, especially a long guy like that,
Yeah.
he's going to wall walk
Sure.
and circle out and get up.
Sure.
And he did it 3 times, at least 3 times. Once he ended up on top in his guard, beat him up from his guard. Other time, end up back on his feet. It was just 5th round. I think it's the 5th round. He about has him knocked out. He lands a combo that has him falling down.
Teixeira lands a combo on Prohaska.
Yes. Has him knocked out.
Okay.
Jumps on a guillotine and pulls guard. Sits down.
What?
His head popped out, and now he's on bottom, losing. And I was like, as soon as he grabs, like, don't sit. Ah! Like, why would he sit? When people are like, oh, he was tired. He was tired. You don't want to be on bottom. Like, you're winning. You're winning. You're about to have him knocked out. Get on top of him if you want to, or just finish knocking him out.
That was my question: is why did he go in? Why did he not finish with strikes?
No idea, because he was winning on the
going?
feet at that point in the fight. The end rounds, the Yuri was tired. They were both tired, but he was winning now.
Yeah.
That he was tired. Glover was, and so I was just so frustrated with all of the position. People were like, that was one of the best fights in the UFC history, and I was like, absolutely not, bro. Like, was it a good fight for the uneducated fans to watch? Absolutely.
Okay.
Great fight to watch.
It was a slugfest, right?
Brawl, barn burner.
Yep.
Great fight like that. Rory McDonald, Robbie Lawler, best fight of all time. 5th round, murdering each other.
Yeah.
Straight punches, hooks,
Yep.
everything was still technical.
Yep.
There's a handful of fights like that are way, way better. Even the first Joanna Weilin fight was
Yeah. Well, I feel
beautiful.
like Gaethje and Poirier was probably up there.
Yes.
That's an
Like, those
amazing
fights are way better than. Even Gaethje and Chandler had better thrown punches.
Yeah.
And that was a brawl.
Yeah.
But it was a great fight to watch. Not the best fight in UFC history. Just based off of the techniques and stuff that were thrown away that night. Positionally was terrible, and it was frustrating to watch. It was.
It's interesting to look at the scoring on this. One judge had him tied up 38 apiece going into the 5th. 2 other judges had Teixeira winning, but one of the judges gave a 10-8 to Teixeira in the 3rd.
So what was his score total before the fight ended?
So 38-38, 39-37, and 38-37 were the scores going into round 5.
38-37, even to the judge who had a 10-8?
That's the 10-8.
So he had been winning. He was still winning?
Correct.
So did anyone have him behind?
No. One judge had him 38-38.
Yeah, and he was winning that round until he just decided he was exhausted and got stuck.
So,
had that guy tried the choke, he was just on the side of him. He wasn't on his back with hooks in.
Yeah.
He was just turtled. Had he had the choke and he just turned quickly and put his back on the floor,
yeah,
there was 32 seconds left, I think.
Yeah.
You'd have won the fight.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, it could have gone to.
He couldn't have lost. Only one judge could have given it to the other guy, right?
So he could have won. It could have been like a draw because 38-37. If Prohaska gets that one, it's 38-38. 39-37. No way Prohaska wins that one unless you get a 10-8. And then the other one was at a draw. So had that gone
majority draw.
Yeah. So it could have gone. It could have gone to a draw.
Well.
But were you surprised that Teixeira lost via submission? Out of everything that you said, like via submission,
he was just dead at that time. At that point, you know, what I mean, that's like people talk about Conor McGregor getting submitted by Nate Diaz and Conor's jiu-jitsu sucks, you know, or Khabib submitting Conor and Conor's jiu-jitsu sucks. Conor's jiu-jitsu doesn't suck. Like I worked with him. Like I know how good he is. No one submitted him when he's fresh.
Yeah,
he was exhausted and beat up from Nate when he tapped him, and he had just been ran over by Khabib for 4 rounds before he submitted him. And then he got submitted early on in his career, first fight or something like that.
Okay.
You know, other than that, he's not been submitted. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He just doesn't use it until he's exhausted, and then, you know, anybody can get beat at that time. I forget who the guy is in the UFC, but there's a multiple time world champion in the UFC that got rear naked choked.
Okay.
You know, he was fought till he was dead and then got tapped. I mean, it can happen to anybody at that point. Yeah. If you go out there and shake hands on the mat and you get submitted, that's a different story. But 4th, 5th round and fight when you're dead, anything can happen.
Sure. It was an interesting weekend, to say the least. So looking forward to Bellator 282. The first fight that you want to talk about, you know something about one of these fighters.
I do.
And obviously, like I know exactly where you're going to go here. I mean, there's no question about it. But what do you see that makes this fight interesting between Johnny Soto and one Lucas Brennan?
So I like the fight. Man, when it was offered to us, I was really excited about it because people might think that I'm like, I like the fight because it looks easy.
You maybe want to shy away from the competition a little bit.
When I say yes to a fight, it's not because I think the fight looks easy for us. I think it looks like a good challenge.
Okay.
You know, and this guy, we've only seen 3 of his fights.
Okay.
And unfortunately, at that point, he fought 3 really good strikers.
Okay.
So he wrestled a lot, threw bombs, and then wrestled a lot, and won decisions, ground and pound. You know, got their back and did you know probably what Luke's going to do to him. But he is not going to fight us that way, right? Like he's not going to fight us the same way that he fought those guys, Weber Alameda. So he beat Weber Alameda, and Weber is someone that trains out of Machida's camp and fights just like them. Real good karate style, real range, stays long. And I always thought he would be someone that we would get coming up, you know, down the line. That would be a good challenging fight.
Okay.
And Johnny Soto beat him. And so I was like, okay, you know, all right, that's a good one.
Yep.
Then he lost to Aldi Benjelani.
Aldi, that's
Benjelani.
right. That was in just July of 2021.
Yeah, and that was that was a fight me and Luke watched and didn't think Soto lost. We thought he won the fight.
Interesting. Were you watching this because that's the weight class and you know that it's
No. We went back and watched for Luke once we accepted the fight. Like honestly, I watched his fight with Weber Alameda that he won.
Yep.
And I texted them back and said yes. And then the fight was on. And the cool part was they said hold on, and within 3 minutes she texted me back, they're in. And I was like, okay, we got to fight. He's down too. So, but again, he's fighting these guys different than he's going to fight Luke. If he tries to fight Luke like he fought them, you know, it's going to be me sitting back watching Luke do his thing.
Okay.
But if he uses his you know, wrestling and whatnot,
how does he do on
defensively? Defensively, he'll you know, it'll be a better fight.
Okay.
If he tries to play with them on the ground, it's just not going to go well for him. I try not to hype him up, you know, a lot.
Yeah.
But he's got a level of jiu-jitsu that is not. There's not a lot of guys fighting in MMA alone that have it, let alone in Bellator in his weight class. Like we got to narrow it down to one weight class in one organization that we have to deal with.
Yep.
There's not a lot of guys that are going to be able to deal with it. AJ, and not because his jiu-jitsu is as good, but just because he's dynamic, athletic, fast, got pretty good jiu-jitsu, he's got good wrestling.
Yeah.
He hits unorthodox submissions, so he'll be tough. Pitbull, those few guys, but like for a while.
That's elite company though.
Right.
I mean, you're at the top there.
Did you notice Bellator just posted something today, their top 10 subs of the year. At this point of the year so far, and he's listed in there with his assassin choke. But yeah, I've told you before, like when he fought Matt Skibicki, Luke threw a body kick, and Matt caught it and shot on Luke, and Luke grabbed his neck, and they started to come up, and he reshot on Luke. So when I'm on the edge of my seat like this, at that point, I sit back and I went like this to Rafael, and I just kind of leaned back. I was like, he came to wrestle. Like if this guy comes to grapple, it's going to be a short night.
Yeah.
I would say it's going to be a long night, but it's not going to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the couple guys who have actually tried to wrestle back, like Ben Lugo, he tried to wrestle back on the ground as well and end up with an assassin choke. So I feel like it's going to be a good fight. I feel like it's going to be a tough fight. I feel like the guy's going to probably fight smart. He trains with a guy, Derek Anderson, who's a tough guy at the 170 division.
Okay.
That fights in Bellator also.
At 170, so he's going to be used to.
Yeah. He'll be used to plenty of big guys. I mean, just like Luke trains with.
Sure. Charlie's
195.
Sure.
He rolls with all the giant black belts in here and whatnot. Yeah. He'll be used to the size and he looks he looks fit. He looks the part. I think it'll be a good fight. I think the odds will probably suck to bet on it. The last time Luke fought against Ben Lugo, he opened up at minus 2,000. Literally minus 2,000. I saw that. I was like, is that real?
Is that a typo?
And then I texted his mom, and she's like, yeah, it's plus or minus 2,000. I was like, that's what Ronda was when she fought Holly. I was like, that's crazy. And people made money on that fight.
Yeah, they did.
But obviously, I'm not gonna bet on something that's minus 2,000.
Yeah. Luke has only been out of the first round twice out of his 6 fights.
Yeah, one was a second round submission and one was a decision.
Correct.
Yeah, actually, second round TKO. Yeah, I mean, 5 minutes is a much longer time to work. As an amateur, he had a rear naked choke, and then he had 2 decisions. And his 2 decisions, all 3 rounds in both fights ended with Lucas on a submission, and then we ran out of time. Like his fights in Tough Enough in Vegas as an amateur were 2-minute rounds.
Yeah.
So they were so fast. He ended the rounds with a submission on. So his first pro fight, he got a takedown at 2 minutes into the fight, minute 45 into the fight. And I said, you've got an entire amateur fight plus a minute and a half left, or plus a minute left.
Right. Are you yelling that to him? You're yelling that to him.
And his coach, I talked to that guy's coach the next day at another fight, and he's like, he goes, I looked at the clock, and he goes, yeah, it's too much time. and it's, 5 minutes, it depends on when you get to the ground in that 5 minutes, but 5 minutes is a lot of time to work. So
yeah, it is.
It's, it's enough time if if that's your game. So yeah, I'm going by Luke by submission.
Which round? You even gonna go there?
I mean, I'll say this. I'll go with the first round sub, but I wouldn't be shocked if this guy fights smarter and we go the second round.
Okay.
I mean, people are going to start getting smarter. People are going to start fighting.
He's got tape.
The problem is, if you want to stay long and out of range, you can't hit him.
Yeah.
If you want to get close enough to hit him, he can grab you.
Yep.
And people don't fight like that anymore. People don't fight like that anymore. They fight the style of MMA. We talked about it before. And when you have a specialist, and their specialist deals with having to close this much distance and then the fight's theirs.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to keep that distance for the entire time.
Yeah.
But when someone has to close the distance to grab a hold of you and the fight is theirs at that point, but you want to hit them and you can't reach them without closing the distance,
And he's got you.
Yeah, it's a tough night.
The next fight you wanted to talk about was Kat Zingano and Pam Sorensen. This is the only other prelim you wanted to talk about. Why this fight?
So Kat was married to a buddy of mine, Mauricio Zingano, who died years back. Was a good friend that me and him came up together at the Gracie Academy, and so I just she's came from the UFC. She's very tough. In my opinion, she hasn't looked great in Bellator.
Okay.
Her first fight, she got a girl that should have been a really easy fight, and ended up, I believe it went the distance.
Was that Holloway?
Maybe.
It was on. So Gabrielle Holloway. It was September 2020.
Was that in Bellator?
Yeah, 245.
Yeah. So that was her first Bellator fight, and that was,
Yeah, that was her first. Yeah.
did it go the distance?
Yes, unanimous decision.
Yeah, and it was a fight that should not have gone the distance. I don't think she's looked great. Sorensen's tough. Has a very similar record to her. I think they're one fight apart or something. Like that.
No. 9-4 9-4 for Sorensen, 12-4 for Kat.
Okay. So same amount of losses and.
So, I went back and looked up a little bit with Kat, and she went into the Nunes fight undefeated. I'm sorry, she went into the Rousey fight
Ronda,
undefeated, including beating Amanda Nunes right before. She got armbarred in 14 seconds. It was over.
It was very strange. She came out and shot on Ronda, weirdly, and Ronda went over the top of her and armbar. It was done just like that. It was like, man, she didn't even get a chance to fight her.
Didn't even get a chance.
Didn't get a chance to fight her.
And since then, she's been 500.
Yeah.
She's had 3 wins and 3 losses. Now, granted, she lost to Juliana Pena. I mean, she's had her share of fighters, but I know she's had some personal stuff going on in between there as well, right? So
that was Mauricio,
right?
I don't know exactly when that happened compared to all that, but that's, I believe, when everything started kind of being all over the place.
Yeah.
Changed camps, changed coaches. He was coaching her.
Okay.
A lot of things changed for her. So I don't know exactly, everything that gone on in her life, but I know there's a lot going on. And I don't know if she got cut for the UFC or left or what happened, but she ended up in Bellator, and it was a good signing for Bellator, I thought it was going to be great, but I just don't think she's looked awesome yet.
So I suspect, and I don't know this, but just looking at it, including Rousey, she went 1-4, and that was the end of her UFC. And then she's gone into Bellator twice, 245, 256.
So she got kicked in the face barely by Megan Anderson. And it hit her, eye gouged her with her toe or something like that.
Yeah.
And she had to stop, at the beginning of the fight. Nothing had even happened
yet. It was
a
minute into the first round.
Yeah. So that sucked. It would have been. She's had a lot of things happen that, haven't even really got to see her. I've seen her do jiu-jitsu tournaments.
Yeah.
Super good. She's solid.
Okay.
So I'd like to see her get it going. But how old is she?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me see if I can see that real quick. She's 39.
Yeah. So I'd like to see her get it going, but the get it going should have happened probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, we'll see how she does. I'd like to see her win, but I don't know.
Pam Sorensen's 36.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much 3 years makes on that, how much of a difference that is. And then, like you said, their records are fairly similar. Who do you have in this one?
I mean, I'll go ahead and go with Kat because I'm not betting, but I'd like to see her win.
Okay. So from there, we're going to skip up to the main card. Brent Primus and Alexander Shabley.
They're on the undercard too.
Oh, they are on the
They're
undercard.
the main event of the undercard. They're the last fight of the undercard.
You're right.
Yeah. So that guy's a monster. That guy.
Shabley?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
he's a monster too.
Brent Primus?
Brent Primus is a physical monster. He is. When Luke and I first started talking about moving to 55, I texted him a couple pictures of that guy, and I said, "That's what 155 looks like." You know what I mean? I was like, "He's well, how tall is he? 5'10"?
Yeah, that's right.
He's
5'10".
the same height as Luke, and easily looks like a 170. When he flexes his biceps, he easily looks like a 170-pound guy.
His shoulders are huge. His arms are round.
Yeah,
like,
there's pictures if you Google him and look, you're just like, what? He's 155? And I was like, so that's, I feel like he's as good as all the guys at 55, but they're men, and I feel like he can handle the men at 145, but the men at 55 are guys that are 70, 80, 90 coming down. Like Luke gets to 180 pounds,
okay,
but just not, it's a different 180.
Yeah.
And I just, we'll have to take 6 months off to grow before we decide to move into that weight class. But Brent Primus, solid jiu-jitsu, really good off his back. He trains at King's MMA in California, and also I think at 10th Planet, does a lot of 10th Planet stuff. It gets him beat up a lot on the bottom when he's trying it, but he does have good jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And the other guy, Russian, Alexander Shabley.
Yeah.
Something big record.
Yeah, like 20. Let me pull it up again. 21 and 3.
21 and 3. Yeah.
And he's only 29.
Yeah. I can't bet against those guys, and I'm gonna go with him again.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. I like Brent Primus, and I've never met him, but I've watched him fight, and he's a phenomenal fighter. I just think that guy with that record coming out of Russia, I'm going to go with the Alexander Shabley guy.
So Shabley's coming off, he's on a 6-fight win streak, and he's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He's won 13 out of his last 14. You guys just on a roll.
Yeah.
He's just on a tear right now. So, and like you said, he's coming out of Russia. So.
Yeah. I mean, looks like all the other guys.
He totally does. He absolutely does. So then when we go into the main card here, then we're going to talk about Enrique Barzola. I always want to say Barboza.
Yeah, me too.
Barzola and Magomedov.
Yeah, the 2 fights in the Bantamweight Grand Prix.
Yes.
And then the main event.
Yep.
So Enrique is a guy who I didn't know before the beginning. So before we talked about him already, he beat Darren Caldwell. And I was like, who is this guy? And he was on our card. He beat Darian on the fight on one of the cards that Lucas was on.
Okay.
And then he came back and fought to get into the Grand Prix. He was one of the fights that night to get into the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And he beat another really good guy. I forget who was his last fight.
Nikita Mikhailov.
Yeah, so he beat the guy that was out of Fedor's camp.
And if I remember right, you picked Mikhailov. I think
that's
the
one I missed.
Ugly,
because I watched that guy hit mitts and train the day I was talking to Fedor.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that guy is like for real. He looks amazing, blah, blah, blah. And this guy, Barzola, was just a monster and beat him. And now he's in the tournament. He is in the tournament against Magomedov.
Yes.
What is his record?
18-2.
So another Magomedov. I believe, and I could be wrong, this guy comes out of Khabib's circle of guys.
Okay.
And I don't think that Barzola does to him what he's been doing to everybody else. I don't think he out-wrestles him.
So when you look at Magomedov, he's got 2 losses. Rivion Stotts, that we actually, I feel like we've talked about him before. And a guy you might recognize, his name is Piotr Jan.
Yeah, okay.
How
did he lose those 2 fights?
Piotr Jan was both of them were a decision. Which he took them both.
So this guy's a badass, right? Like he's legit. And where were those fights? What organization does it say?
So ACB. I don't know what AC. So Stotts was Bellator 264, and Piotr Jan was 2017 in something called ACB, which I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I'm not sure what it is. Stotts is a stud. So that's a good win for Stotts. But yeah, I see this guy beating Barzola. I think Barzola's good. He's not on the level of the guys that this guy's already fought.
Yeah. Do you see Barzola going deep in this? I'm sorry,
fight?
Magomedov. No, in the Grand Prix.
Yes. I think he's one of the two to beat in the tournament.
Okay.
You know? I think he's for sure one of the top guys to beat.
It's a 90-10 split fan prediction wise for Magomedov. Yeah, so I'm sure the money's not there, but but yeah, it looks like that's going to be a big fight. The next one, this is Leandro Higo against one of your favorite fighters. Love this dude, Danny Sabatello, man.
So I don't know enough about Leandro Higo, unfortunately.
Okay.
I know he's very good. I know he's beaten good guys. You know, he's actually really, really good. However, the arrogant Danny Sabatello has wrestling that he uses. There's a lot of high-level wrestlers that don't wrestle in their fights enough, don't use it. This guy does. He comes in shape. He talks trash the entire fight while he's on top of you and drops mean elbows. You know, he's the one that beat my buddy.
Lugo?
Yes.
Jornel Lugo?
Jornel Lugo. And I was bummed about that fight. That's a fight I really, really wanted Jornel to win, not only because I like him, but I wanted him to get into the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, and the Sabatello guy was just a punk before, during, and after the fight.
Somebody like Sabatello almost feels really dangerous when he comes in there with that kind of attitude. Is that a fine line? And I guess you don't know when you cross the line until you fail. But it seems like when he's playing with house money, he's just going in, and it seems like he's doing really well.
There's no question that arrogance in this sport will take you a long way.
Okay.
Overconfidence, you know, Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
You know, that guy confidenced his ass all the way to the championship in 2 weight classes.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys that are confident like that are probably really, really good, and that confidence makes them great.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Then there are guys who are great that are somewhat confident, and it makes them really, really good. You know? And I think that's something that there is a fine line between being arrogance, being a jackass, or you know, being confident and being humble at the same time. GSP, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, guys like him are my favorite fighters, because they find that fine line of being that confident, but not portraying it, you know, in every conversation.
I mean, I think you got to put Khabib in that conversation
100%,
as well.
100%.
He knows exactly who he is.
And he also knows exactly what he's going to do to you.
Yeah.
And he does it, you know. So there is a fine line, but it does take guys like Sabatello, guys like, you know, Conor, guys like the Diaz brothers, you know.
Sure.
It carries them, you know, quite a ways.
This is a pick'em, man. Who I know who you want to win the fight.
I want Leandro Higo, but I'm going to have to go with Sabatello just by the way he fights. He's going to have to get out wrestled by someone like Magomed or somebody.
Okay.
You know, to beat him or get knocked out coming in.
Yeah,
but
just getting clipped.
I feel like someone's got to beat him wrestling wise to wear him out, or stop takedowns at least.
Yep.
To wear him out before they can do something to him, because he was an Energizer bunny for 3 rounds in that last fight.
And won a unanimous decision. Took it all the way and won a unanimous decision. Main event. This is I'm excited. I'm hoping to catch this one. I haven't caught a good Bellator one. But Eblen and Mousasi. We've talked about Johnny Eblen. He was of those trio of undefeated guys that came in. And his last fight was against John Salter, who was another one of those trios. He's been pushing hard.
That fight go the distance?
It did go the distance.
Right.
Yes, it did.
And I believe Mousasi stopped Salter.
I don't know if I can. I might be able to pull that up real quick. Let me see. TKO, round 3.
Stopped Salter, stopped Eblen's training partner. So I thought Eblen and what's his Mr. Van Zant, the guy who's dating Paige Van Zant, the guy that he beat before.
Salter?
No, Mousasi.
Oh, hold on. Austin Vanderford.
Yes, Austin Vanderford. I thought him and Eblin were basically the same guy. Someone, I forget who, corrected me, and apparently his wrestling, Eblin's wrestling, is a lot better than Vanderford's. But for me, there's not even a lot to talk about in this fight. It's a guy that's 10-0, 11-0, and a guy who's 47-7.
47-7.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Against literally, if anybody's curious about Gegard Mousasi, go back to the very beginning. Go Google him and look up his record from Pride, all the way through Pride, all the way to the UFC, all the way to Dream, Bellator, Strikeforce, everywhere. This guy has fought the greatest fighters of all time. He's fought the guys like Dan Henderson fought. He's fought the guys like Fedor fought. Like, he's fought the elite of the elite for his entire career and beaten 47 of them.
It's unreal.
And I think this guy has absolutely nothing for him. He might get some takedowns. He won't get takedowns for 3 rounds. And he doesn't win by decision or by anything. He might even be able to cut him with an elbow. I don't know. But he's not going to stop him. Gegard is a very experienced, very high level, the highest level fighter. And I love that he walks in the cage like this. It's just like he just woke up. His hair is messed up. You know, we talked about before. I had a buddy named Babalu who also fought like that. Looked like he literally just got out of bed, fights in board shorts like he just got off the beach. And that's what Gegard Mousasi looks like.
Yeah, actually, the
cage.
picture here does look like he's wearing. It almost looks like he's wearing board shorts.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's just a badass, man. He's so tough. And
is there something specific about his game that's so good, or is it because there's nothing specific? He's just good at everything.
He's a phenomenal striker.
Okay.
He's very hard to take down.
Okay.
He's got great cardio. I mean, he's old too. Well, how old is he?
36.
Yeah, he's getting old. And he's got submissions, but he's got ground and pound. If he gets on top of you,
yeah,
he punches like a heavyweight. His punches go,
just bang.
you know, just
bang.
heavy hands on the ground. And he's just better. He's better everywhere except for maybe the sport of wrestling. And this is one of the fights that I don't pick the wrestler to win because I don't think he can wrestle him enough. Oh, I said 3 rounds. That'll be a 5-round fight. No way he out-wrestles him for 5 rounds.
Yeah, it will be a 5-round fight because it's for the belt.
Yeah.
I was gonna look and see what the fan line is on this one, and it's 10-1. So
10-1.
Yeah, it's 89-10, and you got some knuckleheads in there calling it a draw.
Yeah. It's a draw. That's probably where the money's at.
It probably.
Put $100 on a draw in any fight, and you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, if you hit, I guess.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah. So sorry that last one's a little dull on the predictions and stuff. I just don't think it's a great matchup for Eblin. And honestly, I don't know. They're at 185. I don't know unless Gegard comes down and fights like Michael Venom Page,
Okay.
you know, or somebody like that, or they go up. But and we've seen 2 champions, Rory McDonald and Douglas Lima or Diego Lima, one of the 2 Lima brothers that were the champions, both move up and fight him and got destroyed.
How much
And
of
they're
that
both
is
really
moving
good
up
fighters.
and not being ready for that higher weight class?
I mean, he was heavier than them, but I mean, I'm sure they weighed in at the same.
Sure.
But he was probably just bigger, heavier guy.
And how much
But
of
he's not a giant 185. He's a long, lanky guy.
6'2".
Yeah.
Eblin's coming in at 6'3". I don't know how much that's going to make a difference. I don't.
6'3"?
Yeah, Johnny Eblin's 6'3", 185.
Huh. He looks like a shorter, thicker wrestler guy to me. And when I've seen him fight, I've only seen him like once or twice.
So okay.
That's a wrap. We'll come back after Bellator 282.
Yeah.
And talk about the predictions, the fights, and most likely about Luke's fight and how that went.
That's must-see TV right there. All this is cool, but getting the background and seeing what happens with Luke's fight, that's going to be what people are tuning in for.
For sure. I'm excited for it. Can't wait. We leave this coming week at the end of the week.
Yeah.
And
So by the time this airs, you'll actually be there getting ready for it.
Yep.
Because we'll throw this out.
Yep.
Right before.
can't wait. Love fight time for him.
That's
Man,
right.
Tyler, real quick. Tyler was home this weekend for a few days, and I said, "Hey, so are you gonna fight?" Absolutely. He said, "Absolutely." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "For sure." He goes, "I'm broke. I need money." I was like, "Come on." And I knew he wanted to, but then he started talking about going back when he goes back to school. He's going to do some striking at Rolly's gym with Bryce and those guys. And and TJ, and do some striking there just to start getting that part ready. And then I knew he was serious the next day because Jen, his mom, said, "So Tyler told me he's going to fight." And I was like, "Oh, if he told you, then he must, for real going to fight." So now I'm going to have to deal with two of these guys, but I've got time. Like, by the time Tyler starts fighting, Lucas should be cracking the top 10.
What weight class what weight?
So that's what we talked about.
I mean, you can't put him in the same division.
No, he'd never make it. He's giant. He'd have to be a big cut to 155.
Okay.
Or grow a little bit to fight at 70. But he gets a 190.
How old is he?
20.
So he still could grow a little bit.
Yeah, I mean he's tall now. He's 6 foot. And gets up to 190 pounds. So
170. Does he know a good coach?
Probably. Probably knows a few.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear how that goes. That'll be
exciting.
fun to keep that busy for sure.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, sir.
You bet.
See you guys.
It is all over, just like that.